Hello viewers, welcome to Top Notch Online TV. With you today is Tr.Emis Njabani, a teacher of English and Literature, an examiner as well as an author. This session, learners, we are going to look at one of the stories from an anthology of short stories, A Silent Song, and we are going to look at the story Talking Money by Stanley Ganzemba. Stanley Ganzemba is a Kenyan author and a writer, and he has written many other stories, including our story today, Talking Money. So we look at the title. How relevant is this title to the story? The story is talking about one of the poor farmers, Mukindani. He is the main character in that story. So Mukindani sells his land and he receives money in a briefcase from the buyer of his land. But later that evening, the money secured on his bed starts talking. He can hear voices coming from the briefcase that has money, and it scares him and it scares his wife as well. So the money that he receives after selling a portion of his ancestral land is referred to as talking, and clearly you can see that tells us where the author got the title of the story from. So there is no hidden meaning to that title, Talking Money. It's just literally the money that Mukindani receives after selling his piece of ancestral land that is talking inside the briefcase. So we look at the plot of this short story. What is the story about? What are the events in this story? I'll take the episodic approach that we have always talked about in our episodes here on Top Notch TV. We are taking the episodic analysis or approach like we have always insisted on here on Top Notch TV. So this story has been divided into 4 episodes. The first episode is Mukindani's failure to listen to advice. The second episode is Gallo. Gallo is the buyer, arrival, and the transaction between Gallo and Mukindani. The third episode is the night after the sale of the land, and the fourth episode is returning of the money to the buyer. So we start with the first episode, Mukindani's failure to heed to advice. So Mukindani decides to sell a portion that he inherited from his forefathers. And in most communities or in most societies, ancestral land is never sold. So when he decides to do so, that does not sit so well with so many people. And they decide to go and advise Mukindani. The first group to do so is his brothers. He had 2 brothers, Ngosenywe and Agoya. So they go there one morning to go and talk to their brother and convince him to not sell the ancestral land that he inherited. But Mukindani does not listen to them. Rather, he chases them out of his compound. The second group that tries to listen out with Mukindani are the neighbors. All the neighbors do not talk to him. It's because they know Mukindani so well. They know that whenever he's angry, it's very difficult to listen out or to come up with a solution with Mukindani. So they just observe his the conflict between him and his brothers, and they just shake their hand and they walk away full of disappointment and frustration that his brothers were not able to convince Mukindani not to sell the ancestral land. The other person who tries to advise Mukindani is his wife, Ronika. That evening after he sends his brothers away, Ronika tries to drive sense into Mukindani's head. She tells him that it is always good to consult before taking such a step as selling ancestral land, and it would have been wise if he had listened to his brothers about selling the ancestral land. But Mukindani does not listen to Ronika as well. What does he do? Mukindani takes out her whip and he beats Ronika throughout the night. She cries until morning. And then now the following day is the day of the sale of the land, taking us to our second episode, the sale of the land. So that morning, Mokindani wakes up. He's very excited that finally the buyer is coming to assess the land and pay for the land. He dresses in his best outfit. He is actually said to wear his best kitenge, long kitenge shirt that he reserves for those special occasions. To him, this is a special occasion. So he waits for the gallows. The gallows are the buyers of the land, and the gallows come. And the gallows enter in style. He comes driving a four-wheel drive, dressed in three-piece suit, as in is just someone who shows opulence, as the air of opulence as he drives into the compound. So he comes and Mokindani takes him round the piece of land that he's supposed to buy. He likes the land. He says it is fertile, and every time he tried to make or to come up with an issue about the land, Mokindani was there to solve the issue because he was very willing to sell the land to Gallo. So even when Gallo said that there was no path, there was no way for his truck to go and collect napier grass for the founder, Mokindani was there to offer solution. He said that he's going to mobilize the youth and they're going to cut grass, fell trees, and create a path for Gallo's truck. So Mokindani is very happy because even after he's told to set his price, he just mentions a random price, a random figure. He expects them to negotiate. He expects them to go back and forth until they reach an agreement of the sale. But Gallo does not even negotiate. The figure that Mokindani mentions, he just pays without negotiating. So Gallo had come with one of his employees who handles Mokindani money, new notes or new bills in a briefcase. And Mokindani is meant to sign a sale agreement to agree that he has sold the land, to Gallo, and he has received payment from Gallo. Now that is when we are taken back using flashback to when Mokindani was young. Reason being, Mokindani could not sign the sale agreement. He was so used to using the thumbprint because Mokindani was never educated. Whenever his father tried to insist that he should go to school, Mokindani would go to school, jump out through the windows, and then he'll just go by the riverbanks to play and roast stolen maize. So Mokindani was not educated at all. So how does he sign the sale agreement? He uses a finger or a thumbprint. The night, our third episode, learners, is the night after the sale. That evening, what happens? So the Gallos have paid for the land, and he has left, and Mokindani has his money. Now he has never held such amount of money his entire life. He's full of anxiety. He's full of fear. He can't wait for daybreak so that it goes to the post office and deposit this money. So Mokindani hardly sleeps that night. He just stays awake throughout the night. Before that, he had tried to secure the briefcase full of money on the bedpost using a rusty chain that he uses to secure his bicycle whenever he goes to the market. But even after doing that, he still does not fall asleep. He's anxious. And midway, or during midnight, he wakes his wife up and inquires from her what time it was. And Ronika, of course, is angry. First of all, he did not listen to advice. He has sold the land that everyone was trying to talk him out of selling. And now here he is, he cannot sleep, and does not want Ronika as well to sleep because he is anxious now that he has that money. So Ronika tells him that it's in the middle of the night, so he should try to sleep because that is the hour that they believed is the hour of the witches. So he tries to sleep, and hardly had he closed his eyes than he hears voices coming from the briefcase that he had tied on the bedpost. At first, he does not believe it, but after listening keenly, he realizes that the talking or the voices were so clear, it was not in his dream because his eyes were wide open. He wakes his wife up, and Ronika for sure confirms that the voices were coming from the briefcase that held money. So Ronika now immediately starts blaming Mokindani and tells him, if only you had listened to the pieces of advice given to you by various people, this will not be happening. You will not be facing now a briefcase full of, according to Ronika, those were the Viganda spirits, full of Viganda spirits that was speaking in their house. So Ronika is very angry. As much as they are all fearful, Ronika is very angry with Mukindani, and he tells him to carry his own cross. So now that takes us to our fourth and last episode, returning the money. So Mukindani is so afraid of going near the briefcase, such that Ronika had even to push him, like drag him and make him untie the briefcase from the bedpost. And she also pushes him out and tells him to leave with his money. So Mukindani lives in the middle of the night with a briefcase full of money, and the money was talking. But before he left, the learners that the money was not comfortable with the arguments between Ronika and Mukindani. So they were arguing, and the voices, they were actually described as children voices. The voices inside are arguing. We thought it's going to be peaceful here. Why are they arguing? Why are they talking? I don't like the fact that they are arguing. So it's like children speaking inside the briefcase full of money. So Mukindani lives in the middle of the night. It's dark outside, and the briefcase full of money is now talking. He is afraid, but what can he do? He has to return the briefcase. It can't stay inside the house. So he leaves, and we are told every step he takes. It was actually a very short distance from Mukindani's house to Gallo's house. But according to him, it felt like eternity walking that short distance. Reason being, every step he took, the briefcase became heavier and heavier. Every step he took, it became heavier and heavier. At some point, some formless bodies and creatures would like scream in and out of the way. They were, okay, he could feel there was something, but he couldn't like place the form into that thing that was walking. It was at night, it was dark, that was walking on the way. So on the way to return the money, he faced challenges. One of them, the briefcase became heavier and heavier, and he had to really struggle to carry it. Number two, he had to fight the formless bodies and creatures that kept on screaming in and out of his way. At some point, he tripped and fell. And when he tried to wake up, or to stand up, he could feel like some creatures, like the ants of the octopus, holding on to his leg and his arms and tightly squeezing him. So, and it was so painful, he felt like a sharp blade cutting into his flesh and sucking out his blood. But he does not give up. He puts up the fight, and he walks all the way to the gallows home. So on arrival, he finds a very big gate, and there are some dogs that try to attack him or scare him off, but he does not go away. So he knocks at the gate and waits until the Gallo comes out. But before that, he had thought that maybe Gallo cannot hear him, and he had even contemplated throwing the heavy briefcase into Gallo's compound. But when Gallo comes and he asks him if there is a problem, he says yes, there is a problem, and that he has changed his mind and is no longer selling his land. So he pushes the briefcase full of money into Gallo's hands and runs away back to his house. So at the end, that's the end of the story, or that's the end of our plot analysis. So at the end, we can see that actually Mukindani refuses to listen to advice, and as a result, he suffers. So what is the moral lesson of this story? That always it's good to heed to advice. If people are actually guiding you or advising you, especially people older than you, it's always good to heed to advice, or at least consult before making major decisions in your life. So this story has four major characters. The first one is Mukindani, the main character, the one who was selling his ancestral land. The other one is Gallo. Mr. Gallo is the buyer of the land. Then we have Ronika. Ronika is Mukindani's wife. And then we have Ngosenywe. Ngosenyo is the one who speaks between the two brothers, but there are two, Ngosenyo and Agoya. That is Mukindanyi's elder brothers. So let's look at the themes. What are the themes in the Talking Money? The themes can also be referred to as the issues. So in this story, we have three major themes. And the first one is the theme of greed and materialism. Greed and materialism. That is brought out by two people. The first one is Mukindanyi. Mukindanyi, even with so many people trying to advise him not to sell ancestral land because its ancestral land is not meant to be sold, it does not even listen to them. He wants a lot of money. He wants lots of money. And he actually goes against traditions and sells his ancestral land so that he can get the money that he wanted. Gallo is also brought out as being greedy. Gallo is a wealthy businessman. He has everything at his disposal. So even if, as a good neighbor, even if someone tries to sell their ancestral, the only land that he owns to you, it would have been prudent for him to sit Mukindanyi down and advise him against selling, not offer him a tempting or give him a tempting offer that Mukindanyi would not refuse. So what does Gallo want the land for? To plant napier grass for his cows. But does he even ask himself, as he adds on to his wealth, how has that affected poor Mukindanyi, his wife, and his children? So Gallo is also brought out as being greedy. The other theme is the theme of the differences in social classes. That's brought out by Mukindanyi and Gallo. So first of all, Gallo is brought out as rich and wealthy and educated. Mukindanyi, on the other hand, is brought out as poor and uneducated. And the rich take advantage of the poor. So we look at these differences in social classes in terms of four things. One is education. Gallo is educated. He runs his businesses. Mukindanyi, on the other hand, can not even sign a document. He uses a thumbprint. Number two, Mukindanyi has a four-wheel drive. The one that drives with into Mukindanyi's compound. Mukindanyi, on the other hand, has a rusty bicycle because you are told that he uses a rusty chain that he uses to secure his bicycle with at the market to secure his briefcase of money. The other thing is in terms of clothing or dressing. Mukindanyi is a poor man who actually, we're told that he only had one long kitenge shirt that he preserves for special occasions, and he keeps it in one of his briefcases to wait for the special occasion, and that is the shirt that he wore on that day because it was a special day to him. Gallo, on the other hand, wore crispy suits that brought out the air of class as well as opulence. The other thing is the housing. Gallo's house is a mansion with tight security around him, while Mukindanyi's house is a old thatched house that has walls. We're told when he asks Ronika what time it could be in the middle of the night, Ronika peeps through one of the spaces on the, the thatches, and she's able to tell from outside or how the sky looked like that it was in the middle of the night. So there were some holes in their old hut, bringing out the differences between him and Gallo in terms of housing. The last theme is the theme of traditions and superstitions. So the first one on page 53, we are told that they believed in the existence of witches. Ronika tells Mukindanyi that it is the time of the witches and you would rather go back to sleep unless you are one of the witches. Page 54 also, Ronika believes in the existence of the spirits of the Viganda spirits. When she hears the voices coming out of the briefcase, she says that she has heard a lot about the Viganda spirits, but now she was very convinced that it's the Viganda spirits that are speaking inside the briefcase full of money. So she believed in the spirits. Mukindanyi also believed in the existence of demons. On his way to return the money, he encounters formless creatures and formless bodies and unseen creatures that attack him on the way. And according to him, he believed that those were demons. You can actually, from your own thinking, not from the book, assume that it was all in his mind, because by the time he left his house, he knew that he was carrying a briefcase that has spirits. Because what are these formless bodies? A body that does not have a form, a creature that you cannot see, yet you can feel it attacking you. So he believed in the existence of the demons. So our learners, those are the three issues that we have from this book. The theme of traditions and superstitions, the theme of greed and materialism, and the theme of differences in social classes. Stay tuned in for our next session, where we are going to look at a sample essay from this story and how you would expound those points concerning that sample essay. Our essay is coming from this super revision book, Top Notch Guru, and stay tuned. Until next time, bye-bye.